Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. This is the Mayor Lang Liss show tonight. She's well-deserved family time, so I'll be running the meeting today. Let's begin with roll call.
Alderperson Boyette.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Holstrom.
Here.
Lundrum.
Here.
Steiner. Steiner is appearing by phone. Stevenson.
Here.
Skirms.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Orchard.
Here. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance by Alderman Boyette.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Right. Item number 2 is a proclamation of National Railroad Safety Week, September 18th to the 24th of 2023. Read the proclamation. Whereas rail safety is to be held across the United States from September 18th to the 24th of 2023, whereas 2,193 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 803 personal injuries and were responsible for 274 fatalities in the United States during the 2022, and whereas 1,208 pedestrian trespassing casualties have occurred in the United States, resulting in 658 pedestrians being killed and another 550 injured while trespassing on railroad property right-of-ways during 2022. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws, will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas the International Association of Chief of Police, National Operation Lifesaver, United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety to enhance applicable laws in support of National Rail Safety Week. Therefore, Jane B. Lang, Mayor of Neenah, City of Neenah, do hereby attest my full support proclaiming September 18th to the 24th, 2023, National Rail Safety Week, and I encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of rail safety. Done. On to the next. Introduction to any confirmation of mayoral appointments. There are none. Moving on to 4. Is there any objection to unanimous consent to the approval of the council minutes of meeting August 2nd, 2023? Seeing no objection, that's moved and passes by unanimous consent. Next, we're going to move to a public forum. We have some public guests here. The way it's going to work is you're welcome to step up. If you've signed in the back, there's a good way to put your name down there. Please state your name and your address, your residential address, and then you'll have 5 minutes to speak on any topic you wish. Once that's done, we won't have an interaction back and forth, but what will occur then is the council will have the opportunity to respond to some of the questions or maybe the statements you made for us. So, all right, anyone would like to start with the open forum? Like to speak? Go ahead, come on up.
Hello, I am Catherine Tunn from 700 Chestnut Street. Just as a visual, our house is on the corner of Chestnut and Lawton, the southeast corner. And I come to you today more or less asking for help. We suffered quite a bit of loss in our basement from the road construction that is going on down Chestnut. On June 7th, Parker Construction had connected our house to a new water main. Come June 9th, about 10 to 6 in the morning, I had gone down in my basement because I discovered that our sump pump had been running nonstop outside. Now, as you all know, we were in a major drought for the last few months up until recently. So you could hear the water rushing into the sump pump pit in the basement, and upon further investigation, the north and northwest side of our basement was completely underwater. So I called Heath Cumro. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. The engineer for the city of Neenah, asked him to help and investigate where the water was coming from. He came. He also had the supervisor of the street work being performed from Parker Construction, and they witnessed the water rushing from the sump pump discharge hose. Larry from the city, from the Neenah Water Department also arrived, and upon thorough investigation, thank you to the city and the contractors, it was discovered that the old water main had cracked underground after previous tamping in the road. So even though they hooked up our house to the new water main, the old water main underneath broke. It followed the trench back into our house, and it flooded us out. This was the second flood we had since the road construction began. So we had carpeting down there, we had paneling down there. The size of the room that was flooded is about 225 square feet. When we removed one of the pieces of paneling on the north wall of our basement, we discovered that there was a new crack that was also actively leaking. This is the second crack to appear since the street work had begun. We're asking the city of Neenah for some guidance, for some help, and for reimbursement, to be honest. I did put in a claim under the advisement of Heath. I'm here tonight under the advisement of my alderperson. And we had received from the city attorney's office our Dear John letter stating that we weren't allowed to sue the city. We're not suing anybody. We put in a claim. We suffered a loss at the negligence of the construction company. We are asking, our initial letter to the city asked for much more than what I'm going to ask you for tonight. Our initial letter had asked for waterproofing of our basement, to disregard the sewer and lateral hookup charges to us because of our loss. And because we missed work this day and we missed work a prior day. Like I said, this was actually our second flood. The first one we did not report. For tonight, we are asking if you could reimburse us for carpet, paneling, my wages, David's wages, our mileage to and from the Neenah drop-off site because we had to get rid of all the wet stuff, and our electricity used. It's to a total of $939.91. I have a copy of the letter that we received from the district attorney's, from the city attorney's office, stating that we cannot sue the city, and also a copy of our claim. I don't know if anyone would, and along with pictures of all the water in our basement. So, again, I don't know who I can give this copy to, but I would ask that you take this under consideration. Being where we live right now, we are under a whole lot of stress in our neighborhood. This is pretty minor compared to what we've had to tolerate thus far. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And is there someone I can give this to? May I approach?
Thank you, Catherine. Any other guests tonight that would like to speak? Open. Any other guests like to speak in open forum on any issue? Last call. Any guests? Sure, come on down.
I'm Kramer, 109 South Lake Street. This may be minor for you, but it's kind of disturbing to me. But, okay, my wife and I went down to Chicago a year or so ago, and what we noticed was just disturbing, lots of beggars on the street, and all of a sudden I go down, go to Walmart the other day, and I saw 5 people there. See a guy on the corner of Cecil and Green Bay Road living there. All the local police. Oh, we can't do anything. We tried to take him to a home, and he refused. So now we're allowed people to live on the streets. There's ADRC and other places that can help people, but nothing's being done. Just curious as to if something could be done. People living on the streets just isn't right. There's places they can go, things you can do with them. One guy said they had a sign, refugee, 5 kids. Well, these people are looking for a better life, but they're living in the street. There's jobs out there. Everybody's hiring. And most of these people I looked at looked quite able to get a position of some type. I worked for over 42 years in a factory. Most of these people look like they could even work at a McDonald's or something. Just curious if something can be brought up, something could be done. I hate to see people living on the street. It just looks a little disgusting for the type of city we're supposed to have here. Supposed to be one of the brightest, best cities in the area. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Any other comments or anyone else in attendance that would like to speak? Open forum. Seeing none, we'll close the public forum and move into the mayor council consideration of any public forum issue. At this point, we can address any of those. If any questions from the alderpersons? Yes, Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you. Thank you. I was going to address Mr. Is it Kramer? Okay. You can call me because I'm very familiar with this subject and have spent hours and hours and hours on the phone with ADRC and all the other places that you've mentioned. So I would love it if you would call me and we'll have a nice chat about it. And I'll leave you my card, or it's my numbers on the city website too. Thank you.
Alderperson Boyette.
Thank you. Excuse me. I'd like to ask Gary here if he's aware of Kathy's situation and how we generally handle these sort of things.
Yes, I am aware of the situation at the town residence. When we receive notification that could be a potential claim in a construction zone, our typical response is to suggest that they submit a claim to the city. Our staff, if they have information regarding it, would forward that to the city attorney, and the claim is handled down there.
Okay. Excuse me. So specifically, I'm curious, and I don't know, because that's not what I do, but she said, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just kind of verbatim what you said, but the damage occurred not of their fault, even though it followed, I guess, pipe up into their home, and we all know the lateral is the homeowner's responsibility. So, but if that's what indeed happened, occurred, I guess, is it still the same process, or I've never heard of this happening, so
Sure.
I don't know what to say, but I feel horrible for these folks that no fault of their own, they've got some significant damage.
Yeah, the process on our end is the same. Do our best to try and find the reason for anything that happened, and again, directing them to submit the claim. Now, in a construction zone, it gets to be, where it goes from there, I should say, it gets to be more of a legal question than I have training for.
Okay, thank you. So can I ask another question on that
Certainly.
then? for the city attorney?
You can ask, but if it is a matter that would include advice from my office to the council, then I won't be able to answer it in an open setting like this. I can tell you that the letter represented to us just now by the homeowner is not what the letter says. It says they won't be able to sue after 180 days or 6 months. So if they wanted to sue us, they could, but they have to do it prior to the expiration of 6 months.
I'm not familiar with the process, so by them following this claim, that's not really like saying we're suing you, right? That's like a different process or something. Like, I don't understand it, so maybe you could explain the process, and
Sure.
then I would be a little bit more educated on this.
Anybody that thinks they have a claim whereby they believe that the city is liable for damages to their property or for any other reason, they are allowed under statute to make a claim. They're saying, this is what happened, I want you to pay for it. And then my office evaluates it under the facts and the law and makes a decision about whether or not the city is liable. If we make a decision that the city is not liable, that claim is denied. We have to then tell them in writing, which we've done, that they have 6 months in which to sue the city. If, in other words, if they disagree with my determination that the city's not liable and they want to take it to court, then they can do that. But there's a statute of limitations that limits them to 180 days following receipt of the letter. And in this case, the letter was dated June 26th of this year.
Okay, okay, excuse me. And in this particular situation, I'm not asking for legal advice. I understand your process here, but I am curious because, again, I'm not educated on this. If their claim is denied, and they feel that the damage was as a result of the construction, and the city's not to blame, then what do they do? What does a person do? What does America do? I don't,
Yep.
and I'm trying not to be specific to this. I'm just in general looking for,
Yep.
because John Q. Public, like me and many others, don't know and don't
Sure.
understand that.
Yep. You'd hire an attorney and ask them what to do next. But they know that they have the right of redress with the courts, circuit court. So that's all I can say.
Yep, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Any further questions? Just one second, let's go through the council, and if there's some other clarification, we can ask that. Alderman Erickson?
Yes, I have a question for the city attorney. If the city isn't responsible, or maybe this is for Director Kaiser, if the city isn't responsible, could the firm that you hired that did the roads, would they have any liability or responsibility that for this problem, or is that be a way to get that solved?
Oftentimes, when it is clear to the Director of Public Works and myself, we work together on these things, that the city wasn't at fault, but the contractor might have been or
Right.
is, then we're always ready to do that. We put that in their lap, so to speak. I don't know that that was done here, and I don't know that it should have been done here, but oftentimes that is a possibility. I'm not talking about this one in specifically, but if it's clear to us that, yeah, the contractor's at fault for this, and they've contracted with the city to perform this
Right.
work, then that's a possible area of redress. But again, that's something that the homeowner would have to take care of.
And then, just as a follow-up to Alderman Boyette's question, if you have this damage at your home, is that something that many people have flood insurance or homeowner insurance? Could you be compensated through your own homeowner's insurance?
That's certainly available to homeowners. Whether or not their particular policy would cover this
it.
particular type of loss is a different question.
Okay.
So.
All in myself, just a question. I didn't, how far along, it says, I think it's June 26th, or how far along in the process is this expert, or is this completed? Your investigation of the process?
Right, this is done in terms of our office,
Your
and that's
office.
why they get this letter. And
Okay.
that's when the clock starts ticking.
Okay, so am I correct in saying that the city says we're not live?
Correct.
Any further questions from, about any, right? You know, any other, before we close, consideration of public forum issues? Seeing no more, close the forum at this point. Thank you for the consideration and have the conversation further if there need. All right, moving on to the consent agenda, there is none. Moving on to reports of the standing committee, the regular public service safety committee.
That's me.
Yeah. Lundrum.
Thank you. Reporting out from the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of August 8th, 2023. Minutes can be found on the city website. We have 2 items. Item number 1, committee recommends council approve final resolution 2023-19, 2-inch asphalt mat overlay for properties served in the Freedom Acres subdivision, and I would so move.
Moved by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Weber. Any discussion? Question? Seeing none, we'll do the roll call vote on your devices. Please cast your vote at this time. One moment.
Alderperson Steiner. And I vote is recorded for you, Alderman Steiner.
Right. Right, clearly passes.
Yes.
Got it. Passes 9. Thank you.
Okay, item number 2. Committee recommends council approve final resolution 2023-20, 2-inch asphalt mat overlay for properties served in the Homestead Freedom Meadows subdivision, and I would so move.
Moved by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Any discussion? Seeing none, please indicate your vote on your voting.
Alderman Steiner. A yes vote is recorded.
Right, clearly passes 0.
And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Lundrum. Moving on to the regular Finance and Personnel Committee. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you. Reporting out from the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of August 7th, 2023. There are 2 items. The committee recommends council approve the salary plan and performance review policies to align with the process associated with the updated pay plan approved June of 2023. And I so move.
Moved by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Stevenson.
Anybody need any clarification to the pay plan policy? I created a process and outlined it in the agenda, and I've created a PowerPoint to give you a better understanding. If you would like, I would be happy to review it with you.
Yeah,
Okay. All right,
good.
so.
Can you put your microphone a little closer?
Sorry.
Right.
My apologies. So I'm bringing forth a pay plan policy to go alongside of the updated pay plan that was done by Carlson and Detman and approved originally in November, and then the appeals finalized in June. My next part of the process was to determine those October increases and how those were going to be implemented. And the first part of doing that was to fully understand our process to date. So going back to the current process, oh, that skipped. Sorry, I lost a slide there. There it is. Going back to the Carlson and Detman, again, the process, we did the market analysis, it put everybody in the plan, and the grade placement and appeals process. And from there, I had to look and see what we've done in the past. So typically in January, we would do our cost of living adjustments, followed by a merit increase in July, and then finalized by those October midpoint adjustments. We saw a little confusion with the merit increases followed by the midpoints, because only those individuals who were below midpoint would receive an increase in October, thereby compressing the scale, and those merit increases no longer held as much weight and value. So it was one of those things that got brought up in our culture feedback, that the pay plan was confusing and caused frustration, and the employees didn't fully understand the midpoint process. Additionally, they alluded to the performance reviews not giving adequate feedback. So we wanted to see what we could do to correct some of those complaints. Based on the culture survey, I did develop a structure within the current pay plan presented to us by Carlson and Detman. I used the exact same market analysis that they used in the same base, midpoint, and maximum in order to create a more structured plan. And it looks similar to what you see on your screen here. You will see this is grade 8. On the left side is the current layout by Carlson and Detman. They created a salaried plan and an hourly plan. The part that's most confusing about this is that by salaried, you would assume that those individuals are overtime exempt. That is not the fact. The fact is these individuals only work 1,950 hours in a given year, and so their annual compensation would equate, if they were being paid $24.82, that $48,391 you see there in the other column. So I wanted to create a structure that showed if this is your hourly wage, based on your hours worked, then this is your annual compensation. It also allows us to look at everything across the board, and people can see, because on the pay plan, there's an OTX column, whether or not they're actually overtime exempt. Let's see. This revision does give us a very clear outline of where people fit based on their years of service. So if somebody is starting brand new within the city with no prior experience, they would start right at the base. But if they have, say, 5 years of experience through Appleton doing the exact same job, we're going to add 5 steps on top of the one, and they could start at a 6. So it's not an arbitrary throw a dart at the board, where do I fit in this pay plan? It's defined. And so it's easier for finance to budget, knowing where people are going to be moving and where we can place people. The midpoint cap is right there at that 13. And so if somebody is proposing that they would go over midpoint, we would bring that to council, same as we have in the past. But knowing that somebody may have left at, say, a step 9, we're going to try to shoot for that step 9 and not go over that so that we're not upsetting the budget. So this moves us on to how the step increases would work. We would do anniversary increases in January. So we're going to be pivoting those July and January increases to do anniversaries in January and cost of livings in July as budget would allow. How that will work, we will evaluate the budget to see what it supports. This will be a performance-based plan. It's kind of a pass-fail plan. If you meet performance standards, you get your anniversary increase. If you do not meet performance standards, you go on a 90-day performance improvement plan to see whether or not you can qualify for that anniversary increase in January. If not, then your step is frozen and you don't move down the scale. There's a second part to this that happens in July. But in the event that we can't afford the 1.5% by budget, then we may freeze the steps altogether and look at cost of living instead, which I'll get to that here in just a second. So July are the cost of living market adjustments. What this does is allows us to assess any available remaining budget to determine whether or not we can move people on the scale. By doing this, we're going to move the whole scale and not just people within the scale. This allows us to maintain marketability, and maintain that 65% threshold that we're looking at. I would assess other entities and see kind of where we are on making sure that we stay in alignment with that 65% that you all wanted us to be at, and continue to move us towards that mark rather than us waiting another 3 to 5 years for another assessment and being that much further behind. So in that case, anybody would move from the old pay plan to the new pay plan with that cost of living adjustment. From there, performance reviews would be due by June. With those performance improvement plans due by October allows us to very clearly meet the budget threshold, so we know where everybody's going to be and get a better understanding of who might not be making it, so we can make sure we're in line with that budget. And I kind of talked about this earlier. If they got their step, then great. If they don't, then we're going to do what we can to hold them accountable in order to keep them progressing in the plan. Even those that support a merit-based system says there are these 5 factors that support a merit-based system. It requires support from the top, which we have. We have great support from the top. I appreciate all the support that council gives in supporting a merit-based system. But for us to be able to clearly do that, we have to have a well-defined and objective performance standards. This is more seen in like factories where, you know, you have to produce 500 output, and if somebody only meets 475, then they're not going to get a standard performance. But if somebody meets 600, then yeah, you've gone above the bar. We can't do that here because the jobs that we have are not as quantifiable. So we need to evaluate them based on performing factors. Are you doing your job? Are you doing it well? Are you doing it with limited mistakes? What training do you need? That's performance, not necessarily merit. The factors have to be something within the employee's control. Our guys out there picking up the trash routes and plowing the roads, they have no control over how many carts or what people put on the roadside. They don't get to mitigate those factors. So we need to make sure that we're evaluating them based on what they can control. And then, of course, it has to have adequate funding. It's all budget-based right here, so we limit what that funding is. And no matter how much somebody performs, they're not going to be able to exceed what we have defined. So a yes or no performance-based is more what we're operating under right now anyway. It does require effective and timely rewards. The culture today wants here and now. If I perform today, I want paid today. If I got a great evaluation today, I want you to show me on my next paycheck. And we can't always do that. So moving to a performance-based system, which is to pass-fail on your performance standards, holds an employee accountable for their performance or non-performance of their job. It does promote a fair and equitable system across all positions across the city, and it seeks creative alternatives when pay increases are not always sustainable. So we can look at alternate factors for somebody doing something above and beyond their job, because we do want to recognize that. We can do that in ways in maybe having a more flexible schedule. We're offered maybe offering them an extra day's paid day off, maybe, and these are up for discussion, though they have not been defined right now, but it does open that door for that part of the conversation. We would implement this, put it into plan in October. So that would be part of the October increases. I was challenged with how do I do midpoint adjustments in October with a $20,000 budget across the city. And the best way I could find to do that was by initiating this plan. It would take employees where they are today, roll them into the step most equitable to their current rate of pay without going under, and that's where they would fit. In this particular example, this individual is making $33.53. We would roll them into their step without going under, which would be equivalent to $33.93 at a step 22. Next year in January, they'll move 1.5% to the 34, and I can't read how small those numbers are from here. So they've moved to the next step, which is 1.5%, provided they had a successful performance evaluation. And that's the short and narrow of it. I know there's a lot of questions.
Thank you, Director Fairchild. Any questions from council about this? I know there's a lot of effort put into it. Stones turned over and a lot of questions asked
Yes.
in the process, so it's,
This is a plan I'm very familiar with. I used this in my former city. We transitioned from the open range plan like what we have to a step plan. It was very successful. There were a couple of holes in the plan. Those things I was able to address in writing a new policy, the things that I saw worked, the things that I saw that didn't work, and was able to adapt that when I wrote up this policy. The reason why you don't have a red line policy, it's a completely new policy, and I took the pieces out of the old policies to keep the intent integrity that you all had put in place and worked them into it.
any questions? Such a great presentation. No questions at all.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So there is a motion and a second. Vote. Indicate on your voting device.
Alderman Steiner? And a yes vote is recorded.
All right. Clearly passes 9-0.
Item number 2, the committee recommends council approve resolution number 2023-21, approving inclusion under the Wisconsin Department of Employee Trust Funds Income Continuation Insurance Plan effective January 1st, 2024. And I so move.
Motion's been made by Alderman Erickson and second by Alderman Stevenson. Any discussion? Seeing none, record your vote.
Alderman Steiner? A yes vote is recorded.
Clearly passes 9-0.
And that
Moving-
concludes my report.
Thank you, Alderman Erickson. Reports of special committees and liaisons and various special committees. The regular plan commission did not meet, so it's the meeting was canceled, so there's no report. Board of Public Works, Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Council President. There's one informational item only this evening. The board approved pay request number 5, Arrowhead Park Pier Project from Lunda Construction Company of Black River Falls, Wisconsin, in the amount of $127,823.45 for work completed through July 20th, 2023, utilizing approved budgeted 2021 CIP carry forward funds. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Alderman Hillstrom. Moving on to reports and neighborhood groups. Bid board, Alderman Skirms.
Thank you. Bid board met yesterday morning. They approved a place-making grant awarded to 116 West Wisconsin Avenue, creating a gathering space behind Great Harvest. The flower contract for next year was approved. Memorial Florists will be creating the flower baskets, hanging downtown again, and will be taking care of them throughout the season next year. If you didn't hear them on the way in, Copper Box was playing the Rain Date Makeup down at Shattuck this evening. Next week, Boogie downtown. Boogie and the Yo-Yos is going to be downtown in the 200 block. So don't go to Shattuck. It'll be on 200 block of West Wisconsin. Ultimate Ladies Days coming up September 9th. There's still tickets available. And the Historical Society powwow is scheduled for September 16th. Future Neenah put together a great brochure highlighting all the stuff that's coming up in the next, 2 months. I've got some extras here, or you can pick them up at the Future Neenah office. What else did we talk about? Oh, the Marketplace parking lot construction starts next Wednesday, and that's a complete rebuild. It's not just grind down the asphalt and put fresh down. The underlayment, the base is so bad that it has to be removed. So they got to dig all that out and put new base in before they put the asphalt in. Because of that, it's going to be a longer project than anyone would hope, but it'll be nice when it's done. Estimates are it could be up to a month, but James and traffic and other folks have made arrangements for the blue lot, which is southwest of Marketplace, the Presbyterian parking lot. That will be available for permit holders in Marketplace, customers, guests, employees. They can park in there free as long as they want. So if someone asks, where do I park? Where do I park? Point them over there. And there won't be any tickets in there. So that's going to help. So there'll be a little pain along the way, and we've made some arrangements for the delivery folks to get access back there. The dumpsters are going to be on the other side of the dumpster corral. So we don't have any place to put them that the trucks would have access to get at them. So you see them out there by this street next to the old bus stop. That's why they're there. Final thing tomorrow at 9 o'clock, third floor, the Valley Transit Authority, East Central Wisconsin Planning Commission, and their consultant will be seeking input and discussion regarding transportation, primarily bus transportation in the valley, but specifically in Neenah. Translation, where does a bus transfer station go? And if you have thoughts about that, feelings, please show up. If you can't make it, send your comments to Deputy Director Schmidt, and he will forward that on to them. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Skirms. Library Board, Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not Mayor. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Thank you, Council President. I'm so used to saying that. The Library Board meeting was rescheduled to next Wednesday, so I'd like to give the Library Board report at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Staying on for the Neenah Council.
Yes, the Neenah Arts Council participated in the highly successful National Night Out at Memorial Park. It was a beautiful night, and we had a lot of people participate. We had 3 art activities, and I think everybody was happy. And I'd like to thank our volunteers. We had a good core group of volunteers for that. And the YMCA, which is also a member of the Neenah Arts Council, last Thursday had their block party, and that was also very successful. It was a beautiful night. The YMCA Arts and Humanities program offered face painting and rock painting, and we had many, many people participate. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Erickson. Landmarks Commission, Alderman Weber.
Thank you, Council President. The Landmarks Commission met tonight, just before council. There are 2 items of note. First one, the history tour as part of the 150th celebration went off over the last couple weeks in August, and the feedback from folks that have been anecdotally polled was very positive. Everybody enjoyed it, and the homeowners that had the signs out in front as well enjoyed that attention. So we're hoping to do something like that again as part of Landmarks, maybe on a continuous basis. And the second point, related to the powwow that Alderman Skirms mentioned, the Voyager Canoe event will also be supported by the Landmarks Commission. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Alderman Weber. Any petitions, presentations, or other received by the clerk?
No petitions.
Any council directive? None. Any unfinished business? None. Any announcements, questions, or anything for the council? Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you. I would like to ask Director Kaiser if he could give us an updated report on how the tree and branch pickup is going throughout the city. A lot of people have questions on that.
Sure, they are just about done with Area 3 and rolling into Area 4 with the brush pickup.
Could you just say
Sure. The area that they're in right now is roughly Cecil Street North and Commercial Street West. So that northwest quadrant of the city. So they've got a little bit left in there. They expect to be in Area 4 starting tomorrow, which would be the southwest quadrant of the city. There's quite a bit of damage there, so that area is going to take us a little longer than 2 and 3 did.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or not? If you hadn't had a chance to, the new Neenah High School is pretty spectacular. I know Sunday might be difficult for some, but if you're interested and you want to, any council members or any directors want a private tour, we can get lost together because I'm still not sure where my classroom is. So, but I'd be happy to take you out there and show you around a little bit. It's pretty breathtaking. So, email me and let me know. All right. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And seconded. So, motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Weber. All those in favor? Aye. All right. So adjourned. Thank you.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin, Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.